Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gaming Nerd Live. I'm your host, the Gaming Nerd, and tonight's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to do the standard barotrauma. We're not even going to be playing any games, because tonight I want to talk about regex and regex dictionaries. This is something that is very poorly understood, not just in barotrauma, but in general. The number of people out there you say regex and their eyes glaze over is astonishingly high. So what I'm going to try to do is break it down, give you guys a background and a little bit in regex so that you can maybe play with that mysterious little blue wiring component that everybody knows and loves and never uses from barotrauma. So without further ado, let's talk about some regex dictionaries and regex in general. So what is regex? Regex is regular expressions, something invented back in 1951. They're extremely basic as far as computer... Oh, my spelling's terrible. Extremely basic as far as computer languages go, but it is technically a language used for searching through plain text. And when I say plain text, I mean letters only, no bolds, no underlines, no italics, nothing fancy, just the letters, ASCII, things, that sort of stuff. You design a search expression, and then incoming text is fed through the search expression, which can trigger a variety of different output behaviors depending on how you formatted your search expression. But in order to use regex effectively, there's a vocabulary to it, like a language. It has syntax and grammar and spelling and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's start with the basics. If you were to put a dot as your search expression and then feed in a single letter, any letter, as long as it's not any letter that's not a white space, so a tab, an enter, or a space itself, will return as true with a regex. If you were to just, without any other extra features, it would return that letter. So if it finds, when a regex search expression finds something that satisfies the search expression, unless otherwise specified, it will just return what it finds. You'll see what I mean in a second. If you have two different letters that remember, these are individual single characters. Right? If you have two that you want both of them to return positive, in this case, if you were to return, say, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or put that into the search expression that looked like A, pipe, B, that's what that character is called. It's the one shift backspace, or the one just above your enter key. If you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this would return an A and a B, because those two individual characters would be part of the input string. Now, on the opposite side of the white space and non-white space is any white space character. So this again, tabs, spaces, enters, that sort of thing. Another interesting way of defining characters or white space and non-white space, digits and non-digits, is with capital letters. So if you say capital S, backspace, capital S, similar to the dot. Funniest? I missed. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to try to keep an eye on the cult, or on the on the chat and on my slideshow at the same time. I thought about making this into a movie, but honestly, it would be so long and dry that I might as well just do it in a live stream anyways. So, similar to white space, you have digits. So, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't think decimals count. They might. I'll have to look into that. And then capital E would be any non-numeric character. You're going to see how this is handy in a minute. Now, there's a bunch of symbols like question marks, brackets, angle brackets, that sort of thing that are crucial. It just slightly alters the output of an explicitly alone. Just more grouped together now, but by the way, oh shoot. Ay. I did it again. Okay, hang on. We're going to go back to... I've got it in studio mode and I'm looking at the wrong one. Thank you very much, Killing Time. That one we're going to edit out in post. So we're going to try this again. So where'd it go? This one. Regex. Basic expressions, again, used for searching through plain text. You design... Yes, you did. You did a big thing, a massive thing. Who God knows how many hours I would have been here on a black screen. I've done it before. I've done it without the mic. I'm showing my age. Okay, I'm turning 40 in a couple weeks, so we're just not going to talk about that anymore. So you design your search expression. Text goes in, output comes out. Sometimes it's parts of the text that you feed in. You can reformat it. The only thing that regex doesn't do very well is count. Right? It can't count how many times something happens. That is very poor application. There's other ways to do it. But the point is that if you want to use regex, you have to understand the vocabulary of regex. And it's really not as hard as it sounds. If you can sit through this, 20 minutes, however I'm going to rant about this, I'll bet you could write some basic regex by the time we're done, or at least interpret what you find. So you might have seen something, for example, in MS-DOS or Linux command prompt, you might have seen star.star, right? In the case of DOS output groups are my single most favorite feature of regex. It makes reformatting large blocks of text uniformly. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I use regex to process the XML game files that drive Barotrauma. Right? You can split it up by tags. You can search for specific attributes. One of my favorite things to do is to wire up a sub with not even formatting or not even making the wiring pretty at all. Just keep everything straight lines, right? Not even a node on the ship. And then you go in, you open up the sub file, you take the sub file, change the extension to GZ for gzip. Yes, exact. That is why regex has been around since 1951. It's incredibly flexible. So, fun fact, if you take a sub file out of the Barotrauma content folder, change the extension from .sub to .gz, and you have WinRAR on your computer, you can unpack the gz file into a folder. You then open that folder, it's going to have the same name of file as the name of the submarine with no extension. You add .xml to the end of that file, and you can open up your sub's list of items and all the attributes and everything you need to know about that sub in one massive XML file. Make the changes you want to make, use regex to find anything that's labeled as wire and change the alpha to 0. So the wires are all there, they're all functional, they're just invisible. And then do it backwards. Save the XML, then remove the extension, then pack it into a GZ file, then change the extension back to .sub. But Bob's your uncle. You got one more invisible wires all over your sub. Doesn't matter how many. As long as you did the regex right, you can turn them all without changing anything except the alpha of the color of the wires. Where was I? Okay. Let's go back here. Dots. Basically find and replace, but it can open exactly. And that'll become more evident as we go on here in a sec. Okay, so simplest basic regex is a dot, period, right? If you were to feed in, regex returns as many results as it can that satisfy the search expression. So if you were to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you put in a dot, it would spit in an A, a B, a C, a D, an E, an F, and a G as separate outputs. Now in Barotrauma you can't do that, but we're not talking about Barotrauma specifically. We're talking about regex in general. So a dot returns each individual non-white space character. A white space being, if you were to print it on a white page, characters that don't show up on a page like space, tab, paragraph, page breaks, that sort of thing. Those wouldn't return on a regex. If you have two different letters you want to search for, or you're going to see in a minute, two different search expressions you want to search for, if you separate them with a pipe or shift backslash, then both search expressions will satisfy. So in this case, if you put the search or the input string A, B, C, D, E, F, G into this, the A and the B would come back as outputs and everything else would not. So just the A and the B. On the opposite to the dot is backslash lowercase s. This is any white space character. Tabs, spaces, enters are the big primary culprits in this one. However, you can also invert that and say any non-white space character similar to the dot, as a capital S. Similarly, digits are represented with D, non-digits as a capital D. And you're going to see in a second here that there's question marks, there's brackets, there's colons and semicolons, equal signs, and if those are all useful to regex. So if you want to search for those, anything that's used by regex as part of the language needs a backslash so that regex knows, okay, I'm looking for that, I'm not using that. Okay, now quantifiers. Instead of looking for one letter at a time, we can use brackets, and I think I've redone those brackets twice. Okay, I think those are in the group construct section, but either way, you can split up a search expression into parts with brackets. So if you put a question mark and a colon inside the brackets on the left and put a search expression in there, as soon as regex finds it, it'll register that it found something, but it doesn't save the information inside. Whereas if you put just brackets around it, it says, okay, I'm going to hold that in memory in case I need that coming up, right? That's called a capture. I think Killing Time Itself guy here just mentioned captures and output groups, right? You can't have output groups without captures. You need to capture something in order to output it as part of a group. Now, you can specify with curly brackets, you can say, okay, I want, this is only satisfied if I have exactly 3 A's. So if you were to put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, wouldn't come back with anything. A, B, B, C, D, C, C, D, D, E, E, still wouldn't come back with anything. But you put A, B, 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 C, 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 D, 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 now it's going to come back with 3 A's because it found precisely 3 occurrences of the letter A. Similarly, if you put a comma after the 3, it'll say 3 or more. Or if you specify 2 numbers, you can say 3 to 6. I didn't put it down, but you can also put curly bracket comma 6, and it'll say up to 6 occurrences of the preceding element. All right, if that makes sense, Killing Time, I'm going to depend on you. If I say something that makes absolutely no sense, I need you to speak up. Say something in chat if you understand what I mean. And if you're still there, I don't know, it says 0 viewers, but it's also saying 0 viewers while you were in here chatting, so I don't know. Okay, now, arbitrary, oh, here we go. Making novice regex. Honestly, I don't know. No, I take it back. Working Joe is my regex guru. He's on the Undertow forums and Discord. Don't mob him with questions, but if you come up with a regex problem you can't seem to solve, be ready to prove it to him that you have tried everything. But he's awesome. He's my guru. He saved my butt so many times. Yes, voodoo. It's a dark magic. He knows him. Oh, see? There we go. All right. Arbitrary numbers. Less specific than the curly brackets. First one is a starting at 1. An A, the plus symbol in front of a search element says, okay, 1 or more of these occurrences, right? As many as I can, 1 or more, okay? Similarly, the star is 1 or more starting at 0. So even if you don't find it, that's going to come back true, right? That's a little counterintuitive. You're going to see what we do in a sec. And then if you combine the star with a question mark, it says, okay, take as many letters as I need to satisfy the search expression, but not more than that. Instead of as many as possible, I said as many as possible. I should say as necessary at the bottom of that one. Okay, I'll go in there and fix that later. Okay, groups. Killing Time mentioned groups. I talked about literal characters. Okay. With square brackets, you can specify subsets of characters. So you say ABC, that's like saying A pipe B pipe C, like we talked about earlier. But you can say other things, like you put a caret, that's what that little angle thing, CARET. You put that in, now any character that's not A, B, or C will satisfy this equation, or the search expression, right? So if you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you put that in as your search expression, it's going to spit out D, E, F, and G. All right? Now, you can also specify a range of characters. A-Z would return positive with any single character in the range. Now remember, lowercase from A to Z. Okay? If you put little a dash Z and then big A dash big Z, Then it will search for all the letters in the, hang on, what do you call it? Arabic alphabet? No, I forget what they call the English alphabet. And those letters, okay, would satisfy one character would satisfy that search expression. Remember, the square brackets look for one letter at a time. Now, the other thing you can do is group your search elements in where you're looking for them, right? So if you want to say, for example, in XML, you want to find everything that says, we talked about hiding wires, okay? So hidden in game is a property in a Barotrauma XML file that is either true or false, right? So if you want to say, search for everything that starts with hidden in game equals, right? You would put that in the look behind subgroup. Because remember, with that question mark, this look behind group isn't part of the returned string, right? So you put the easiest way to remember this part is a question mark and the angle bracket pointing backwards, right? You say, okay, find a string that has this behind it, looking behind it, right? You specify what's in the subgroup, or you can say, look, find me something that doesn't have this behind me, right? That's the negative look behind. Similarly, sorry, those are supposed to be forward and backwards. I hope I do that again in a sec. Nope. Okay, so if you get rid of that angle bracket, man, I should probably redo this and put up on as like an infographic or something. If you get rid of the angle bracket, then you turn that into a look ahead, right? So instead of saying, if I'm looking for a string that's ahead of me or behind me, now you could say, put the hidden in game equals and then the double quotes. That's your look behind, and then look for the second set of double quotes as your look ahead, right? And then the only thing that's gonna be between hidden in game quotes and another pair of double quotes, the only thing that's gonna be in there is the true or false that defines whether or not something is hidden in game. Okay, don't look at that because the code is wrong at the very bottom of that. It should be look ahead. All right, so this is a dictionary lookup regex, okay? It looks intimidating at first, but we're going to break this down letter by letter and figure out what the heck it means, okay? The first one you notice is that there's 4 sets of brackets, okay? It means we have 4 subgroups. We also see characters in between those subgroups, but notice the dash and the semicolon are characters, but that star is not a character. That star is part of the regex functions. All right? So we also have, out of those 4 subgroups, we have 2 with names and 2 that are not kept. They're identified, but not stored or used for anything else. Okay? First one's called input. Second one's called output. You'll notice there's K input, but that's not an identifier because it's not beside the question mark. All right? We'll talk about that one in a second. Okay? We also have 3 character subsets, all of which are negative, right? So the first one says any character that's not a dash or a semicolon. The second one says any character that's not a hyphen. And the third one also says any character that's not a hyphen. All right? And then all of those have asterisks beside them, which means any set of characters that aren't hyphens or semicolons, any set of characters that aren't hyphens, right? That sort of thing. All right, we got this one in the middle. We're going to talk about that in a sec because that one means as many of these in the group, the subgroup in the brackets, as many times as we can find that. That's what that second star means there, okay? So let's put this into words. All right, the caret means all tests must start from the beginning, from the first character of the input. This is important because you don't want to search the input string more than once. Right, so let's just say, I don't know why I thought of a palindrome, but there's a phrase that's the same written backwards and forwards. Madam and Eden, I'm Adam. If you were to search for the phrase Adam, A-D-A-M, it would come back twice. But if you start by saying every test must start from the beginning, it wouldn't come back at all because it has to start at the M of the beginning of that phrase. Okay? So if you put a caret at the beginning, the only things that can satisfy the search expression are ones that satisfy it from the start. Okay? Now, Inside of our first element subgroup, we find an internal label for the subgroup called input. We talked about this a second ago. Then we have a character subset that we're defining as any character that doesn't match a hyphen or a semicolon. Okay? And in this case, we're going to say as many of those that aren't dashes or semicolons until we hit a dash. Hang on. Specifically the start of the string with the multi-line. Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about the options like the global and the multi-line and the case sensitivity or not. We're going to leave that alone. That's an advanced topic in REGEX, so don't confuse the people here killing time. We're going to remember and we're all novices. We don't need to step up the expert level stuff yet. Okay, so does that make sense? The first subgroup finds as many characters as it can that aren't hyphens or semicolons until it hits a hyphen, right? So the first group is going to be a bunch of stuff until it hits a hyphen. Okay? Make sense? Clear as mud? I'm going to keep going. All right, the second subgroup, okay, has no name, so it can't be used. The information that's found in this group cannot be referenced later. Okay? But we do have a character subset that we're defining, and it is, again, a negative group. So everything that's not a hyphen, as many times as we can, until we find another hyphen. Right? This isn't the whole search expression, because this one builds into the next one, because then we say as many of those as we need until we, in the third subgroup, until we find the input that we found in the beginning. The \k means it's referencing a substring that's already been found. Right? So you say, okay, we're going to look for something until we find a hyphen. That's the first subgroup. And then we're going to look through everything until we find it again. Okay, that's the second and third subgroup. And then we're going to find a semicolon, and the output is everything after that semicolon until we find a hyphen. All right, this is going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense here in a sec. All right, and this is as many things as we find that's not a hyphen until we hit a hyphen. Okay, this is the dictionary search expression. This is the dictionary string. Okay, now the dictionary string only functions with an input value. So if you put this into the input string, this is what happens. Okay, so the first must start at the beginning. And we find something, all the letters that we can that aren't hyphens or semicolons until we hit a hyphen. All right. That comes back as key 3. There's that hyphen. All right. So we're going to keep that and call that input. Then we're going to keep looking through those things until we find things with it that aren't hyphens with a hyphen after them over and over and over again until we find input. Okay. Is that there? No. Is that there? No. There it is. There's key 3 for a second time, okay? Now, the output comes after the semicolon that we just identified until it hits a hyphen. In this case, val3, okay? So what happens is you put in key 3. In barotrauma, you would use a concatenate block, for example. You would input key 3, and the output would come out as val3, okay? I use this in the condition, my condition indicator, I believe. This is, without a question, the most useful regex you will ever find, or at least in barotrauma. I can't think of anything else more useful than having a list of indices like key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4. You stick an index at the beginning of the dictionary string. You feed it into the regex, and it spits out the associated value. That, to me, is pretty damn useful. So, let's fire barotrauma, and let's see if we can build this in the game. What do you say? Hang on here. Right, go on. That one. And we go to game. All right. Let's do it. Google Craft. Hello, Google Craft. Let's do it. You guys ever heard of a guy? This is, okay, now I'm dating myself. Tone Loc. Wow. He was in Ace Ventura, He was a character, and that's the only thing I ever saw him in visually, but he did a bunch of songs that were flipping hilarious. Okay. Yeah, I know. Usually the loading screen runs in the same time, so you don't lose anything or gain anything from skipping through it. And I've yet to figure out this. I've got this on a DIMM drive. Like I've got my Barotron on a RAM disk, and it still takes this long to load. So which means it's not. Okay, here we go. Submarine editor. Okay, let's say open up my favorite one, the Typhon 2. Oop, load. Damn it. Load. Okay, here we go. I'm doing the screen thing correctly. You're not staring at a black screen again. Yeah, loading takes forever, and it's only getting worse. Okay, so let's say, oh yeah, we'll just build the thing in general here, okay? It doesn't matter what we build. Doesn't matter what we build as long as it is a regex dictionary. So we're going to say, I don't know what the heck that was. Okay, so what do we need? We need a memory block for the input string. It's frozen on the intro video? What? Wait, shoot, stream data is good. Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate your diligence. Okay, so there's a concatenate block. Okay, just to make things more intuitive, we're going to put this side by side here, okay? This is going to be our input string on the input on the left. Then we're going to put the rest of the string on the right. Okay, then we feed it from here into a regex. Where's a regex? Down here. And we're going to spit this out into a text display here. Okay? Now, I don't remember these off the top of my head, so I'm going to just snip over that other opera window for a sec. And I'm going to copy the string here. Copy. Okay, so we go into regex, all right? Put in your search expression there. It's longer than the actual thing is, so when you go to look, it's going to be nice and long, okay? Make sure continuous output is checked. Make sure your false output is blank. You want to tick off the use capture group, and you're going to change this to the word output, okay? Now, with this one, I'm just going to nip out over here again. I'm going to copy my input to the dictionary string here. All right, so we're going to say put that here. And okay, so make sure you include the first hyphen here. And then key 1, val 1, key 2, val 2, key 3, val 3. They changed output handling with the output box values at some point and broke all your regex. Yeah. Yeah, that happens. Don't get me started with PID controls. Okay, so we're going to say signal out. Well, let's make this one. Hang on, we'll program this one first. We're going to call this one, say, key 4. Right now, this is all theoretical. This is why. So this one's going to go into concatenate into signal in 1. Okay, and then this one here gets our dictionary string. Oh boy. Okay, good point. Thank you. Where is my game only? I'm just going to turn off the input overlay for now. There you go. Okay. So I thank you for pointing that out. I will we'll go and I'll review the settings on the regex blocks here in a sec. So this one comes out here. So the memory block, this has our input string. Oh, there's an E3. Don't ask me where that's. It's probably just me typing stuff. Yeah, so key 4 goes in here. This is your input string. Notice it doesn't show it, but if you go all the way to the left, you've got the hyphen. That's very, very important. If you don't have that hyphen, it won't be able to find shit. Okay, so you put concatenate block out to here. Signal in, and then the signal out goes to here. Now, for those of you who can't read through an input overlay, so this is our settings for the regex component, okay? You put your dictionary string like we just found in the presentation, put that here. I'm going to put that expression in the description of this video. So if you guys, and then you can just copy and paste it over. I'll put the formatting of the dictionary string as well. I guess to let me out of the screen. Finish key meshing. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so with false output, make sure when you're using regex, make sure your continuous output is always on. Otherwise, it'll only do something when something changes. So false output, blank. Leave to make sure it's not a space or a zero or nothing. It's just blank. Use capture group must be enabled, and the output, the word output, all lowercase, must be in this box. All right, and now we've got this wired to the set text over here. And now, okay, yeah, we'll turn on dev mode as soon as this starts up. Dev mode, okay. And I'll lock the ship so you'll go crashing into the bottom of the ocean. Or the abyss or whatever. Okay. So now notice it says val 4 over here. So we've got key 4 going in, val 4 coming out. Put key 2 in, val 2 comes out. Put key 1 in, val 1 comes out, right? So how is this possibly useful, you might say? Oh, hang on. So if you go into here and you say, okay, channel 104, call 104, and call that ballast, no, airlock 1, there you go, airlock 1. You can even put spaces. The only thing you can't use are dashes and semicolons, right? You say 105, and we call that the gunnery. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up at this point for demonstration purposes, right? And then we say, oh, hang on, you know what, let's get out of we'll go back to the editor for this. It'll make more sense. Okay, so okay, let's put where are the smoke detectors around here? Is that a smoke detector? Yeah, it is a smoke detector. I don't think there's one in here, is there? Oh, fun fact, shift right click and you go select matching items, and then you look back and it'll find, hang on, let me turn off the links. Okay. Well, that wasn't very helpful. Okay, so we see there's a smoke detector here. Drag that over here. Smoke detector in here, but not in here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a label on our there's a fire alarm right beside the captain's nav terminal. We're going to put a text box that says when that is going off, it's going to tell us where. A feature you'd think would be more frequent on a submarine. Oh wait, that's going to be in the wall. Okay, and I don't think I saw one in here. Yes, there is one in there. There's one in there. Not one in here. Don't ballast doesn't need them. That's already got one. And I guess even though it's gonna be in the nav terminal for robustness, we're gonna put one of these in the nav terminal room too. Structures, wires, and that should be everything. Okay, so now we gotta put down some Wi-Fi components. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fire up Notepad. Notepad++. Okay, and as I'm going to be attaching Wi-Fi channels to these smoke detectors, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to document on Notepad which channels go to which detectors. All right, so we're going to start from the top here. There's one right here, so put a Wi-Fi here, and we're going to wire this one up here. Put in this here. We're going to call this say 101. No surprise for people who've been watching my stream and seen me do wiring before. And I'm going to write in my Notepad 101 101 semicolon upper dive room. And then enter. No, sorry, dash. Okay, so that's the smoke detector for here. This is we need one more over here. I'm going to put my Wi-Fi's all down at the same time. Give me 1 second here. Wi-Fi. There. One goes in here, one goes in here. I don't think we have one in that one compartment, but that's not a big deal. There's magazine storage. There's one in here in the engine room, one here in mechanical, one in the reactor room, lower dive room. Barrel logic table continuous is most useful if you want to forcibly ensure input out to a barrier. Generally, barrel logic is stated in such a way. Yes, but for example, my door controllers, they don't operate well unless the NOT block is in continuous function mode. I think I've got a smoke detector up here in the wall. Hang on. Yep, there it is. Look at that. That was pretty damn close, I'd say. All right. That one's got a Wi-Fi. This one gets a Wi-Fi over here. You get a Wi-Fi. You get a Wi-Fi. Everybody gets a Wi-Fi. I am the Oprah of. It can cause problems, yeah. And I imagine because it's reading every cycle, I imagine that it's pretty resource intense too. All right. Okay, so from here. Okay, now we're going to call this Wi-Fi 102. And we go over here and we say 102 semicolon upper storage. Dash. All right, so that one's done there. Okay, now med bay here. Put that in here. Now we go back to this Wi-Fi command. We call this 103. And on my 103 semicolon med bay. Med bay. Yes, absolutely. My original designs are always what you would call wiring component spam. Like a shit ton of signal blocks and Wi-Fi's. Okay, this is 104. Access shaft. Because any smoke that's in this access shaft is going to float all the way to the top of it, though. Okay, so that one's wired. That one doesn't get one. Okay. Here we go. This one goes to this here. 105 is what we're going to call this one. Automated reactor startup, shutdown, and docking uses soft states to allow the user to enable, disable at leisure. For instance, was a pain to wire. We should talk. Are you part of Killing Time? Are you part of the Discord Nerd Herd? 6, I think. Not 105. Have you joined the Nerd Herd? If you do, seek me out and we can talk about this, because if there's one thing I've beaten to death with this game, it's reactor controllers. I am so displeased that they did what they did with my. Like, I get it. The PIDs need to be nerfed, but you could have done it a bunch of different ways. 106, and we're going to call this the forward magazine. 6 forward magazine. Okay, that's 106. Almost there, guys. There's not that many compartments left. Put this in here. Signal in comes from this smoke detector. Call this 107. 7 engine room. Dash. There's one lazy hack fix. You can just override fission rate to 0 in the high temp. Actually, if it does work, it's not supposed to, because what they changed is that the effect of inputs take 5 times as long as a manual input, and that's kind of hard to work around. All right, this is 108 mechanical. Okay. Here we go. Goes here. 109. Call this crew quarters. Sit it higher if you want more alarming. Yeah. Did you see my video the other week or the other day on the 5-component controller? Yeah. Now, it's not my old one. I did a video with the 5-component controller like 2 years ago. I'm talking about the one that I made last week. It's now viable again. I don't know what changed. I think we're at 110. Yep. Okay, 110. Electrical room. Okay, and then over here we have 111. I think we got 3 more compartments to do, maybe. One. I put this up here. Almost done, guys. Almost done. 111. Helm. Okay. This is your lower dive room. So we will say here, 2 here, and this is 112. And I write down 112, lower dive room, dash. It blew up your channel and then completely killed it? Man, it sounds like you did something to piss off YouTube. I think that's everything, guys. They've all been labeled. Okay, so now, here comes the fun part. You were getting, oh, not bad. That's pretty darn good. REGEX. Okay. So, here's how we're going to do this. Just let me think this through for a sec, because this one I probably should have test wired before I started the stream, but it took me all evening to make that presentation, and it really shouldn't have. So, all right, so this is going to be our input string here, and so that's where our dictionary here from Notepad++ comes over here. 112 lower dive room. Don't need a dash. Okay, put that over here. Then we're gonna put concatenate block here and the regex block here, and I think I still have the. Is it machine? Hang on. Oh, I think have VK mods turned off. No, it's there you go. Yeah, so this one is a little bit better suited for the application. Just because we have a lot longer entries than what that other one can hold. It would take too long. Okay, so why is this backwards? We're gonna go from output of that to the set text. Input of this comes from the concatenate block. Concatenate block gets most of its stuff from this one here, but we're gonna say okay. Done this before. I just need to remember how I did it. Okay, so we got a yeah, we'll need a Wi-Fi component, and we're gonna need a memory, 2 memory blocks, I guess, and an addition block, and some signal checks. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So memory here, oscillator. Oh, we need to switch over here. Where's the oscillator? Oscillator's over here, and relays up here. Yeah, it was probably only a day or so, so I'll put a new one into this this description. Why not? Screw it. I shut down Discord before I started streaming. All right, so we're going to take this one and call this, make it 20 hertz. Once you go at 30, the game gets all muddy. So this goes up here to the relay, goes into signal 1. We're going to control that relay with this switch, so that goes down here to set state. And when this pulse is coming out of the relay component here, it's going to go into this addition block, which goes into the signal in. You go too fast and bear not when it gets non-deterministic. Oh, I'm sorry. Which part was too fast? Oh, yes. Now I see what you're saying. When you say non-deterministic, I know exactly what you mean. Okay. For the uninitiated, the non-deterministic, for example, Linux is a deterministic operating system because when you make a command, hang on, I got to, when you send a command, it absolutely will do it eventually. Might not be in the order that they happen, but it will get done. Windows, on the other hand, is not a deterministic operating system because there could be queries or commands sent to the processor, and they're processed in order of arrival. And if two things arrive at the same time, well, one of them didn't make it. Okay, so we need signal check blocks on here too. So we start at 101, I believe. And we're going to say, where's my greater than the memory block? There's a greater than. One more memory block. So this, whenever we get a signal from that greater than block, we're going to set this back to 101. Set that to 0 and set that to 1. You can technically, hang on, how to counter the 5 times longer reactor, shorten the range that the needles need to travel. How? We'll put the turbine to 100 and only control the fission rate to put 4 fuel rods. Which one? What? It's not a bad trick. Who are we talking about? Putting more fuel in means the fission rate is much more, yes, much more aggressive. Okay, so that's going to go over here into the signal in here. Okay, so for those of you, so for everybody paying attention, this memory block here is the one that's going to contain the current value. This is a counter block, essentially what we're coming up to. This one says we're going to start with 100. No. Sorry, the limit was 112, I believe. Yeah, the highest one we got was 112. Oh. So you put that in here. You put the value of this memory block into the top signal 1 of the greater than block. You put the output of this one into the bottom of the greater than block. Make sure this has a false output by changing this to, oh wait, no, that's a signal check. We'll go here. The greater than component needs to have a false output of 0. And then that goes over here into the signal in. This one has target signal of 1, false output of blank, and output of 101. Hang on. So what this is going to do, this counter block, oh, is this sending pulses? Yes, it is. Okay. So 20 times a second, there's going to be pulses coming out of this oscillator here. When this switches on, the oscillating pulses are going to be allowed to pass through this plus sign. Hang on, I'm going to take this over here and get it from the memory block. Okay, so this addition block takes the pulses, which are value 1, right? And it's going to add them to the current value of the memory block. Hang on, I'll pull this down here. So if I have over here, so the second part of that addition block is the output value of that memory block, okay? And then this value is piped into the input of the memory block, right? So that updates as soon as that addition is over, okay? There's a bunch of stuff happening up here, so we're going to move that a little bit to the right there. So what happens now is that this memory block has the current, yeah, I know, but honestly, it's pretty damn good. There's a million ways that they could have been doing it, and this is pretty damn good. All right, so this memory block spits out that value to the greater than block, and if it, if this one is greater than this one, which is the currently max number of channels that we're reading, 112, if that value is greater than 112, yeah, it's called Lua, then this signal block gets triggered because it's looking for a 1. That one's coming from the greater than block, and if it receives it, it spits out 101, which brings this memory block down from whatever value it was back to 101 to start with. So what this creates is that this is going to loop through all the channels of the regex that we connected to our smoke detectors and read them one at a time. Yeah, that's the trick, is fixing your own work. Okay, so now if we need to do an if block here, an and, no, I think we only really need a signal block. So when this, okay, so what's happening now is that memory block that has the current Wi-Fi channel being read, right? This guy here, this memory block here contains the value of this counter, which starts at 101 and goes to 112 and then gets looped back down to 101, and it does this probably 3 or 4 times every second. 20 hertz? No, almost. So, this greater than component comes out to here, this memory component comes out to here, the signal check block. Why did I have this signal check block? I don't know why this wire is down here, so we're just going to take it and put it in a pocket here. Okay, so that triggers that one. That one goes into here. Okay, so now we run that value from the memory block, which is the current Wi-Fi channel. Yeah, I know. No. What the problem is that these aren't labeled. You can't change this label over here, the memory component. It doesn't say which memory component. It just says memory component. That would make such a huge goddamn difference, as if we could rename these. The other one would be able to take a wire and move it off the panel and not have it fall onto the floor. But hey, no, I know that might be asking big stuff. Okay, so we take this value of the current Wi-Fi channel and we pipe it into this plug here, the set channel of the Wi-Fi component. Then we're going to take that out, signal out, and we're going to put it into the signal check block. And if this is a 1, then the output of this signal check block is going to be the memory component, set output, right? Put this into our concatenate block here. I just realized a flaw in this system is that the flaw is only going to be able to identify the first compartment to be on fire. Once there's more than one compartment, then it's not going to be able to really keep up with it. Okay, one more time, let's review. Switch turns relay on. Relay starts passing oscillation pulses into this plus component, which adds those pulses to the value stored in this memory block. This memory block, if the value exceeds the value of this memory block, which is equal to the number of channels that we're trying to read, if that memory exceeds that memory, then this greater than is triggered, which triggers this signal check block to reset the value in this original memory block down to 101. Then it goes from that channel, the current channel in this memory block is fed into the Wi-Fi block and sets its channel to read data from, and the data that's coming out of that Wi-Fi block goes into the signal check block as its output. Then it spits that output into the signal, the concatenation component here, which is appended to the dictionary string here, which has the list of all the rooms on the ship and their channel number. Okay? So the channel number is coming through the signal check block and is being stuck in this concatenate block, which is going to stick it to, hang on, memory block, where did that go? If you go all the way to the left side of this list, and then you open this in game, it's a Eastern, oh shoot, what's it called? Anyways, long story short, now we should have a system that tells us, oh boy, should bring up, oh man, hang on. I don't know why it's doing that. It must have just be a corrupted sprite for that text display. All right, we're almost there, guys. Hang in there. Okay, so I take this one, get rid of it. Okay, text display. I think that was the one that I used. We'll try this big white one. There we go. That one's looked a little bit different. Hopefully it works. That goes in here. Set text. Let's try this again. So how's it work? I just explained how it works. Okay, so right now this is red, and nothing should happen because there's no fires anywhere. Oh. So let's start a fire in the electrical room. F3, turn on fire mode. Actually, no, let's start in here. Forward magazine. Hang on. Easy way to put a fire out is to just fill it up and then... Oh, there you go. Water off. And... Fire off. Okay. So now we need a way to turn that off. Hang on. Here we go. If how would we do this? So when this is set to 101, okay, because it's cycling so many times, we can take that advantage of that. Okay. So when this gets to resets to 101, we're gonna stick that into damn, hang on. Use a signature. I think what we're gonna do is set this equal to 0. Okay, where's our signature block here? Okay. We're gonna put a memory block here, and every time there's a fire, we're gonna add it to this memory block. And if this memory block is equal to 0 at the end of this, at the end of the scan, then it's gonna wipe what's in this. Do I speak another language? Un petit peu. Je parle un peu de français, mais c'est trop mal pour converser. Mais je travaillais beaucoup fort pour m'améliorer. There you go. A little bit of French for you here. Okay, so target signal is 0. Yeah, French moment. Okay, so take this and we're going to put a space in there. So now if this stays 0, hang on. We put an end in this because boy. Okay, yeah, this is when we're talking about the, and that was good. See, we have French immersion in Canada. Text displays home. Yeah, see, that's okay. So here's what we're gonna do. If this is 0, and then we'll put another signal block in here, and okay, hang on here. When this gets a 101 from this guy here, okay, this is gonna receive, because remember, this signal check block resets to 101. Call this a 0. And then we're going to put a couple not blocks in here. Put a memory in here. Where is our not block? Yeah, I knew I put an extra one down. Okay. One of the top languages just because how goofy it is. Oh, you're from Quebec. Ah, c'est Canadien. I'm from Ontario. Technically, I grew up outside of Ottawa. Although officially I was born in Edmonton. Okay, so this is going to split it to 0. Hang on. How am I going to do this? Okay. So when this one receives... Okay. When this one receives a 0, the 101 is going to spit out a 0 here. No, I don't want signal check there. Sorry. I'm just coming up with this on the fly, guys. Okay, so when this is set to 101, this thing turns this into a 0. And then this is going to set this one equal to 0, too. There we go. Lynn. Hang on here. Okay. We're going to still use an equals sign here. Where's our equals component? That's how we do this. Okay. So we're going to put a memory block here and a memory block here. And there's our equals component. Okay. When this thing gets a 101, it's going to spit this into here. This thing here is going to trigger a 0 into this one and a 0 into this one. And they're both going to go into the equal sign. And if those two memory blocks are equal to each other, hang on, signal check. Memory in, yes. If these are equal to each other, it's going to spit out a space. All right, and if it, we'll put that in here, set text. But then this one is also going to receive values from this one. This signal check block only triggers when there's a 2 signal. Equals edge diff detection is based. Okay, in that case, let's use a signal check block. You do the same thing. Okay, so put this in here. Put the signal check block in here. Okay, signal out here. Set target signal, and signal in is going to come from this one here. And if this receives the matching signal, it's going to come into here, and this has to spit out a space. And that's going to be in, we don't say what the target signal is. That should do it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, dev mode. Okay. Well, first off, we're going to turn this on. And we'll put on fire mode again. Put in here. Forward magazine. It's blinking, but that's not, is that really a bad thing? It's not an intended effect. It's not a bug, it's a feature. We put it in here. Electrical room is blinking. Hey, so I think I call that a win. I don't know. That's guys. I'm not trying to make this functional for the Typhon, and we're gonna mod it so that we're gonna ask Barotrauma to put this into the game. No, that's not what I'm going for. The goal was to show how the REGEX dictionary works and kind of scratch our brain a little bit on how to do this logic thing. We got a blinking text instead of a solid text, but you know what? If it's a fire, I want some shit to blink. That's acceptable behavior in my standards. So. Broken detection system is perfect for the Typhon. Yep. Yeah, it kind of fits the meta, doesn't it? All right. So, ladies and gentle nerds, that brings us to the end of this evening's entertainment section. If anybody has any questions about REGEX or life in general, the ultimate answer, the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Comrade. We're going to give you guys another minute or so if you have any questions you want to verbalize. But if not, okay, you want just... Oh, yes, sorry. I'll put it in the video description once it's done, okay? Man, an hour. I thought I could get this over done in a half hour. No, the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is... The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is, of course, 42. The real thing that'll scratch your brain is, why is the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, what is 6 times 9? Exactly. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, guys. You should definitely read it. Don't watch the movie. Movie shit. We'll read the book. Trilogy in 5 parts. Alright, guys. Have a wonderful night, a wonderful morning, wherever you are. Please consider subscribing. If you like this content, I will make more of it if you subscribe. If not, I have no justification of doing so. In the meantime, I'll put the Discord link in the video description. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, or, I don't know, funny jokes, please put them in the comments. I love the comments. And of course, guys, don't forget to stay nerdy. Have a good night.